Hey, Mr. Pond Balls, tell me what to do to make all my Lunker Lake dreams come true.
Hello, everybody. Bob Lusk. Let's go live. Let's have a little fun. Let's kind of hang out. Must be Tuesday. Must be 7:30, and let's have a talk. Let's just, I thought about the topic about being talking about aquatic plants would be a good place to start. So, hello, John Dyer. I was talking about you today. Leanne and I are working on the next Institute of Higher Pondology, and dude, you are going to be the data guru. I'll be ringing your number before long because we got a whole lot of work to kind of pull off. Speaking of the Institute of Higher Pondology, we've already got 10 people signed up, so the ranch is full. And John, you're going to be in the black cabin, same place you were earlier last time. Golden water. Gotta look out there and make sure what my wife's doing. So I thought tonight I would really talk about aquatic plants. I got several things to tell you guys about because there's been some fun things happening. I got on my hello, Christopher Aguilar, our good friend from South Louisiana. So I'm sitting here looking at my text, and I got a text from Jason Dodd earlier today, like at 5:14, and he sent me this picture. Oh man, it's kind of hard to see there, but looks like he's got a whole lot of planktonic algae that is diet in his lake there in Wichita, Kansas. Danny Mac, hey Bob, you got big storms, dude. I haven't even looked at the radar, dude. I need to check that out. What do you guys got going on? Big storms, a quarter of an inch of rain. Man, I've been so totally tied into what I was doing here today, writing. I published a magazine called Pond Boss, and I'm way past deadline. So I'm trying to dial in on that. Oh, Lord, I see it. Looky there. You had a storm pass through. Had a little red in that one. Hello, Steve Thorburn. Hey, Travis Walker, you subscribed. You're waiting at the mailbox for a week. If you'll keep... Hey, dude, if you will go out and stand by the post office, by the mailbox out there at your driveway, you stand out there all day long. At some point, it will come, and you will like it. And then when you get it, call me, because I believe it or not, I do answer people's phone calls. Leanne tells me I'm kind of nuts on that. So, but you know what? I love all you guys. Hello, Mike Cottrell, Princeton, Indiana. Charles Huring checking in. All right, I wanted to talk about aquatic plants. Ron Chrisman checking in from Michigan. Dave Weber, surface temperature. Woo, 7 o'clock, 94 degrees. I was asking Jason Dodd what his temperature was right there in Wichita, Kansas, because he had a big rainstorm blow through today, and it knocked out a bunch of that planktonic algae or blue-green or whatever it is. So that's what's going on right now. So here we are, middle of August, and ponds are really doing what hot ponds do. They grow a lot of plants, and I really wanted to talk mostly just in the beginning about aquatic plants. I got a call, about a month ago from a guy between Archer City, Texas and Seymour, Texas. He's got a 15-acre lake, and he said, my moss has just gotten out of hand. Well, I was getting ready to go on vacation, but the conversation I had with the guy was intrigued enough that... and I was enticed enough that I thought, well, hell, I'll just hop in the truck and run up there 3.5 hours. So I drove up 3.5 hours, looked at it, and I thought, oh, man, this lake is covered probably 70% with coontail. And so I said, okay, I'm trying to kind of dial in and try to figure out how in the world did this happen. And so as I talked to him, what they typically do is they fertilize the lake, create a plankton bloom, which is a pretty common practice in Texas. And then when they do that, then they keep aquatic plants at bay. They miss their opportunity by about 2 weeks to fertilize the pond. So what they essentially did was they fertilized the coontail, and it absolutely blew up. Well, I knew, good gosh, here at that point it was third week of July, and I said, dude, if I were to tell them to go out there and treat those aquatic plants, man, they'd have a tragedy. Because this ranch is between Archer City and Seymour, Texas, which is pretty arid, 24 to 25 inches of rain a year, and the water temperature was probably like what we're hearing was going on there in Dave Weber's part of the country. Water's in the 90s. I cannot tell him to kill those plants, but if he doesn't do something about it, he's got a huge risk of a fish kill. Well, just so happens I know Will Farmer. Will, I'm not sure you're watching this, but if you are, you're getting a free plug right here, dude. And hello, Bill Shrum. Colorado Springs. It's not quite as warm there as it is in north central Oklahoma. I don't want Debbie to see it. I'm drinking a little bit of scotch. I'm not tipsy, but I want to be. So, anyway, I got to thinking that Will Farmer's attended one of the Institute of Higher Pondology courses that I put on every year. Speaking of which, I'm going to circle back on it. Institute of Higher Pondology is going to happen October 23 through 25 at West Haven Ranch. All the slots on the ranch are now full. We've got 10 people signed up. We've got 10 more slots open. That's it. I'm cutting it off after that number. Well, I do have hotels in Nacona, Texas, and in St. Joe open. So I've got room for 10 more people. I'm going to tell you, this is going to be a freaking epic event. We're going to analyze Jimmy Houston's lakes. John Dyer is in charge of all the data collection. And John, you and I will work that out. It's not intimidating at all. It's absolutely fun. And Jimmy has told me he's going to be there. Now, I don't like to make promise based on celebrities' promises. So Jimmy says he's going to be there. I believe him. I take him at his word. But if he gets a gig with Johnny Morris calls him and says, hey, Jimmy, I need you to go to Grand Rapids, Michigan and hang out with Ron Krisman, well, I can kind of see that happening. But Jimmy's told me he's going to be there. He wants to video what we're going to do. I've got Chico coming to video what we're going to do, and we're going to have a freaking fantastic time learning about lake management. R.E. Thompson, what are you doing watching this on a Tuesday night, dude? You should be over there at the rehab center taking care of your people. I'm glad you're here, though. Hello, John Punk from mid-Michigan. I kind of slipped in. Hey, Greg McMillan, I owe you a phone call, and I have got time this week to come see you, either Thursday or Friday. R.E., did I answer your question? No, have not. I have not answered your question on thermocline. However, I will, and here's why. I'm way past deadline on getting the Pond Boss magazine out for the September-October issue, which I'm hoping it'll be mailed out by about the second week of September. I'm working on that tomorrow. So, Greg, I promise you, I will ring your number tomorrow and make an appointment. I think I can come see you either Thursday or Friday. Probably better on Friday and come out, because I'm trying to put together 3 or 4 stops in one day, and my world has been topsy-turvy. So I'm not making excuses. I'm just shooting you straight up. So, hello, Kenny Sanderson. I want to talk to you, Kenny. I'm going to try to ring you tomorrow. If I miss you, call me back. Any good plans for an old pond that's salted in quite a bit? The water's iced tea, but the fish still look healthy. You know what? Travis, give me a minute on that. Hello, Thomas Davis. Virgil Meyer, Iowa. John Funk question. Oh, Lord. Here we go. Lost all my fish this spring to a fish kill at ice off. Now I'll have his golden shiners, lots of them. I had 50 yellow perch. We do not have heavy fishing anymore due to grandkids. Grandkids are in their 20s. John, dude, your grandkids ought to be reproducing by now. You need to be a great grandpa. What's that got to do with stocking fish? Shut up, Lusk. Would it be better to add regular bluegill or hybrid bluegill to be able to manage the population? I'm going to tell you regular bluegill, because they're going to reproduce, and your yellow perch will help control them. Hello, Josh. Sinkovich, Big Frog, checking in from outside of Cleveland, Ohio. Travis, thank you very much. Jason Dodd, thanks for, yeah, dude. Kenny Sanderson, we could add how not to kill small. Yeah, well, we can write a book about that. Okay, so I want to tell you guys a story. I promised. Holy cow, we've already been going 10 minutes and I ain't said nothing yet. That's kind of southern. So I got a call from a guy, I don't know, right before I went on a vacation. Took Debbie up to Sister Bay, Wisconsin. We ate cheese curds. We caught smallmouth bass, hung out with Ron Krisman. And then we spent time with Big Frog. Got to speak for 5 minutes at his annual company picnic. And he took us walleye fishing. Debbie, after that fishing trip on Lake Erie, John, Debbie said, "That's not fishing." I said, "Yeah, it is. May not be like what you think is fishing, where you're casting and reeling, but it's catching." And it was absolutely amazing just watching the captain keep 15 lines from getting crossed and tangled when we had 3 or 4 walleye on at once. It was really, really fun. Bay, Miltonberger, everybody is used to me saying a whole lot of nothing, including you. The difference is you're the only one that pays for it. I didn't really say that. I kind of meant it, but I didn't. But we are going to grow some big fish in your lake. There's already some big ones. I just can't take credit for them yet. Neither can you, but we will at some point. Hey, Trey, dude. Hey, check your emails, dog. I did set up a Dropbox file. Look in your junk mail. You got an invite because I knew you'd be on there tonight. So I sent you and Peyton Igo an invite into a Dropbox file to log in your photographs of those bass that have been accurately sexed, boys and girls. I need to talk about something. You guys are distracting me. It's like I've got some kind of issues here. All right, so Bay, keep me in line, dude. I hope Paula's not watching this with you. She's gonna think I've lost my mind. You already know that. We did find a place for that kayak, by the way. I love me some Bay, dude. Okay, so I got a call from this guy like 4 or 5 days before we took our 2-week sojourn into the northern tier of states and Lake Michigan, Lake Erie. And he said, "Hey, I've got an issue with some moss." So I hooked it up between Seymour and Archer City, Texas. And this guy had a 15-acre lake that was about 70% covered with coontail. And I mean, it was dense. And he had fertilized his lake, but he missed the temperature window. Instead of creating a plankton bloom, he fed the coontail. So I called Will Farmer, who's got a weed cutter boat, or weed stripper boat, not a weed cutter boat, kind of like a weed-oo boat. And I referred them to him, and he went over there, and he's been going over there every chance he gets. And he's probably taken out 100 tons, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but maybe not, of coontail. Had that landowner used herbicides to treat those plants, odds are high that he would have had a fish kill. So by using this weed removal boat, which has got a big grapple on the front of it, and it goes out in the water and it grabs these plants and takes them over and drops them off, and then the landowner, his ranch manager, has got a front end loader with a grapple on the front. Then they picked up these weeds, this coontail, and piled it up in these giant piles, and they turned it into mulch. Well, what that's basically done is extracted a gigantic amount of nutrient content out of that lake. And we're going to go in the fall, sometime in late November, and see if we can't figure out, what his fisheries like. I got the text today from Jason Dodd, who's watching this show. Go back to, you misspelled coontail there, Milton Burger, dude. Conon tail. What's conon tail? I'm not going to make fun of you. You make fun of me. I'm not going to make fun of you. Doesn't work. So, by taking out tons and tons and tons of coontail, a ton of coontail yields about 6 to 8 pounds of phosphorus. Let's do the math on that. 80% of coontail is water. So if there's a ton of coontail, 2,000 pounds of coontail, and it dries out, there's 200 pounds of dry mass, and of that, 6 pounds of that's phosphorus. So it doesn't take a whole lot of phosphorus to generate a whole lot of coontail. And Bay's got coontail in his lake. We went and looked at it earlier this week, and the amount of coontail that Bay has is actually working to be a good nursery ground for newly hatched bait fish, specifically bluegills, red ear sunfish. Those fish like that, use that as a nursery ground. They don't necessarily eat it, but it gives them a safe harbor and an escape. So what I expect to see in Bay's lake, Bay has stocked tilapia this spring, crawfish, which is a good temporary forage to put some pounds on bluegills. He added on bass, he added some bluegills. The water's fertile because the gizzard, shad, and carp are keeping the nutrients stirred up. So the coontail in Bay's Lake, we went and looked at it earlier this week, and it's really, really healthy. So it's nursery grounds, and it's helping to enhance the productivity of this lake, of his lake. But that lake over between Archer City and Seymour, that lake was destined for a fish kill. So by removing vast amounts of that stuff, it made a big difference for that lake because it was huge, huge volume. R.E. Thompson, what's the detrimental effects of running diffusers 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.? So R.E. is in Petal, Mississippi. He manages some lakes for folks over there. There's really no detrimental effects of running a diffuser aeration system from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. By running it through those hours, you're going to mitigate the temperature changes in that water. So when you're in the deep south, like Petal, Mississippi, when those aeration systems are running, you're running them during the coolest hours of the evening. Now, you got to keep in mind that fish, especially like largemouth bass, if the water temperature gets above 84, 85, 86, it's like a dog being in 100 degrees. It's going to pant, it's going to struggle, it's going to have a hard time staying alive. I've seen fish die in aerated lakes where the water temperature exceeded 87 degrees. So running the diffusers from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., that is 8 hours worth of time. That keeps the lake from stratifying, but it also helps keep the temperature from going up. So, I've kind of shot my load here, whatever that means. But you need to bail me out. Give me a better question than this. Everyone is used to saying lots of nothing. I'm really good at saying lots of nothing. I'm not offended. Shut up. Give me some meat. Okay, so now let me just go this way. The next issue of Pond Boss, I've been working on that the last few days, and I'm telling you, if I wasn't the boss, I'd be fired because I'm 2 weeks past deadline. But we've got some pretty good articles. Dan Van Skyke's got an outstanding article on harvest of animals, and not only does that apply to deer and wildlife. Okay, Bay's got a good question. But it also applies for fish, and so part of your job is to understand your fisheries population well enough to know that at some point there's going to be some size classes of your fish that are going to begin to lose weight. It may be the 10 to 12s, the 12 to 14 inchers, 14 to 16, whatever it is, you got to be paying attention to it. And if the food chain isn't supporting that particular size class of fish, it's incumbent on you to begin to harvest two fish. There's Peyton. I talked to Peyton earlier here a few days ago, and I just mentioned his name earlier today. So Peyton's checking in. All right, now good. Now you guys are throwing some questions. Explain why the temperature goes up when the water evaporates, as evaporation is a cooling process. Ooh, sweet. That's a great question. I'd like to tell you that I don't know the answer, but I actually do. Oh, I know. You guys just rolled your eyes. I got to take a sip. When the temperature goes up, when water evaporates, evaporation is a cooling process. Well, when water evaporates, it's not in the lake. Think about that. When the water evaporates, it leaves the lake. It goes to the sky. The atmosphere, the air, absorbs water based on the humidity. The lower the humidity, the higher the evaporation rate. The higher the temperature is and the lower the humidity is, the higher the evaporation rate. It has no effect on cooling in a lake. It has effect on cooling above the water line. So when you get into those humid areas, like get down around Houston, where humidity is 88%, the temperature can't rise above about 94 or 95 because the air is saturated with water. So when the temperature goes up and water evaporates, has nothing to do with the temperature of the water. It's not going to cool the water. Danny Mack, good plants for hard, high alkalinity water. My number one favorite plant for hard, high alkalinity water is eelgrass. Coming in a close second is American pondweed. Those two plants are non-invasive and they really, really, really work well in high alkalinity water. Now it's really interesting, Danny Mack just made a point, and there's several pieces to this point. The chemistry of the water, the pH of the water, the acidity, basicity, alkalinity, hardness, all that stuff influence what's actually allowed to grow in the water. So the higher the alkalinity, the harder the water, the higher the pH. There's certain plants that will grow and certain plants that won't. Let's take the opposite of that. When you're in acidic water, like in the Carolinas, in East Texas, parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, and that iced tea water, you can grow a whole lot of spike rush that you will never see in hard water. You can grow parrot's feather. You can grow, there's one with the little cups on it that catch insects, bladderwort. Those plants grow really, really well where the water's acidic. Where you will never ever see Cara growing in water that's acidic. If you take Cara, skunk grass, which is a multicellular algae, there's some science for you. If you take that stuff out, throw it on the shore, you've got Cara. And if you were to take that Cara out, throw it on the shore and leave it for a couple of days, pick it up, it's solid white, and it falls apart almost like salt crystals. And that's because that stuff is so full of calcium carbonate. All right, so what is the optimal temperature range for fertilizing to prevent coontail from growing? Dave Weber. So Dave, here's the way that works. The optimal temperature range for fertilizing to prevent coontail. Coontail starts growing when the water temperature hits about 68. So what this man did up at his ranch between Archer City and Seymour is he missed his fertilization time by about 2 weeks. And he didn't know. I mean, who knows? We don't know what we don't know. And so he fertilized it, but the coontail had already been spurred into their spring growth season. He missed it by 2 weeks. If he'd have fertilized 2 weeks earlier, he would have had a good plankton bloom, which would have shaded the water, minimized the penetration of UV rays of the sun, and odds are high that he would have had a good plankton bloom and would have pushed the coontail back for several weeks. But since he missed it by a couple of weeks, he actually, when the fertilizer hit the water, now here's a Dave Weber, since you're asking this question, let's dig down a little deeper into coontail. Coontail is not rooted. It grows in the water column. It migrates to the top of the water. It moves with currents. It can cover the entire surface of a pond and never be rooted. It is not rooted. It's jerking its nutrients straight out of the water column. That's part of the fun about learning about all these different plants. American pondweed, eelgrass, bushy pondweed. They're all rooted plants that grow up from the bottom of the pond in the mud, and they're sucking their nutrients out of the dirt, where coontail is sucking nutrients out of the water. There's your take-home point. All right, so Brent Rutan. Talked to Brent a few weeks ago. He's over there, as I recall, around Corsicana, I believe. And does anyone have tilapia still? Yeah. Well, you know what? Does anybody have tilapia for sale? Brent, I don't know that. Better late than never. You know what? Give me a call. You got my phone number. And I will check in, if I remember. I will check in with Texas A&M University. I know they raise tilapia. They may have sold out. I don't know. Bill Schrum, what were your recommendations for Jason Dodd? I didn't have any recommendations for Jason Dodd. Bay's jerking my chain, if I had one, which I don't. What were your recommendations for Jason? I didn't have any recommendations. I was there a week ago and the loom is very dense, visibility. Okay, so my recommendations today was he's had a storm, temperatures changing, that dense bloom. So okay, so you know what, Bill? It's a good question. I'm gonna peel the layers back on that onion. So Jason Dodd's bloom looks to me like it was mostly planktonic algae. It had that green color. Some of it might have been blue greens, but looked like most of it was planktonic algae. So when you get those heavy rains, a slight change in temperature, that bloom begins to die. And as it dies, it looks the dead algae cells float to the surface. It looks like somebody spilled green paint on top of the water, and that's what it looks like in Jason's pictures. So there's nothing to do. That stuff is dead. It's going to break down in a few days. It's kind of messy looking right now, but my advice to him is to leave it alone. Don't do anything. Don't treat it. You'd be treating dead algae. So don't worry about it. Scott Greens begs. Oh, God, dude, I forgot about it. Hashtag, Bay, I'm not doing too good on this marketing thing. Hashtag Palm Boss Magazine. Click like. Share to your timeline. You're eligible for a drawing for a hat or whatever Leanne says. She and Debbie talked today about buying some shirts with Palm Boss logos on it. Palm Boss Magazine. Now this one is in a plastic bag. $35 a year, cheaper than a Friday night date, and it lasts a year. If you haven't done that, you need to do it. It's worth it. Bay Miltonberger, you've got shocking boat envy with Peyton. No, I don't. I borrow a shocking boat. Peyton owns it, and his is badass. Debbie been getting on to me for saying she's not looking. I'm going to take a sip of scotch. She's been getting on to me. Whew, I need some water. Two beverages on my desk in one night. No, I don't have any envy. Peyton's got me hands down. Kenny Sanderson, he's correct. Some fish need to go. Bay, I don't know how you come up with that. I talk about the humidity in Houston, and he's talking about Houston is like living in somebody's mouth. Bay, it's quite the visual. You need to talk to your wife about that. Eelgrass is rooted, Travis says. Yes, it is. Hello, Bobby West. I called and talked to Bobby today. I'm so excited about this next Institute of Higher Pondology. So since Bobby's on here, we're going to be talking about this a little bit. We've got the ranch full, so all the rooms are taken at the ranch. But I've called hotels in Nocona and St. Joe. We've got room for 10 more people, but I'm going to cut it off at 20. So here's the deal. We're gonna go about half a day longer than we normally do because we're going to make a road trip. We're going to go to Jimmy Houston's ranch, which is about an hour and a half ride from Bobby and Jacob West Ranch over there, West Haven Ranch. And we're going to analyze Jimmy Houston's lakes. And we're going to analyze the data. We're going to come up with some recommendations for Jimmy to do with his lake. And I know Jimmy pretty well. He's going to do whatever we tell him to do because he believes in lake management. And when I called him, I can't believe I didn't think about this. And as we talked about it at the last Institute of Hydropondology, somebody said, "Well, why don't you call Jimmy Houston?" Well, why didn't I think of that? So shortly thereafter, I called Jimmy and I said, "Hey, Jimmy, I'm going to do this Institute of Hydropondology in the fall. We'd love to come analyze your lakes for you for free." He said, "Oh, man, I'd love that." He said, "Come on." I gave him the dates. He said, "Those dates work." He said, "Nobody shocked this lake in about 5 years." So he's going to have his videographer there. I'm going to have Chico there, our videographer, and we're going to go have a great big time hanging out with Jimmy Houston. I'm presuming he's going to be there. I don't make promises based on celebrities. Jimmy Houston's a celebrity. If he gets a better gig, he'll go. But right now, I'm pretty confident that he's going to be there. He's going to use his social media to help us get the word out. And we're going to have some sponsorships and great food and great education. And I'm about as excited as I can get. Danny Mac's pond needs a Cara infusion. Well, you know what, Danny Mac, when you come down and see Bobby West, he's got Cara. Bring a bucket. Horsetail, says John Funk. John Henry, if I put dye in my pond, will it affect the food chain? Yes, it will. So, John, what happens when you put dye in your pond, it essentially blocks the UV rays of the sun from penetrating down into the water column. And the UV rays of the sun is actually what generates the energy for plankton growth, for plant growth, for any kind of photosynthesis underwater. So yes, it will affect your food chain. The catch there is when you do it. There's times of the year you can do it, like in the late fall, in the winter, where it's irrelevant, where the food chain is about to fade out anyway. Now, if you did it in the middle of the summer, or if you did it in the middle of spring, not necessarily a good thing. Brian Nutt. Oh, we got 9 comments. So I need to scroll on down. My little mouse is getting touchy. My mouse is getting touchy. I apologize. I did not think about that before I said, my pond has been pea green for about a month. I bought some copper sulfate and was going to do a light application, but it sounds like I should just leave it. Brian, I don't know where you, okay, you're in Kentucky. Help me, pond boss. Help me. I bought some copper sulfate and I was going to do a light application, but it sounds like I should just leave it. I was worried about a big kill when the temperature drops. Don't worry about the kill when the temperature drops. Worry about the kill when the temperature's high. So the pea green soup. So Brian, here's what I'm going to tell you. Check the visibility. If you don't have a Secchi disc, S-E-C-C-H-I, look that up. So basically, the way we make those decisions is how far down in the water can we see. If you can see down 12 inches, don't treat it. If you can see down 18 inches, you're good. If you can see 6 inches, maybe a light treatment. Like when you bought copper sulfate, I'm presuming when you say copper sulfate, you bought granular copper sulfate. If you were to use that, mix it in the water, dissolve it, and then use a very, very light application, like less than 2 pounds per surface acre of water of copper dissolved into water. But here I'm going to dial into this a little bit better. Don't treat it. You stand to gain very little if you treat it right now. Leave it alone. Peyton got a shock boat, but now Peyton broke. I sure love shucking fish. That's what matter, right? Yep. Okay, Peyton. Well, I know how that works, buddy. But Peyton's going to be doing enough electrofishing surveys that boat's going to be paid for before long. And dude, you've had bay in your boat, so therefore this shock boat envy, you win. Harry Thompson, I went to Belzoni. Oh Lord, I went to Belzoni in April, I think. But I'm probably going to go again. So when I go again, matter of fact, we need to go look at that lake. I'm going to tell you late October, early November. And I'll holler at you when I go. And I may holler at Wes Neal too and see if we can't meet over there. Tony Edwards, Buddy Floyd checking in from Como, Mississippi. John Dyer, Mark Fletcher. Guess what, dude? Mark Fletcher's coming to the next Institute of Higher Pondology. He was there at the last one with you, and he's bringing his nephew. Yep, so it could have been Mark, and you know what Mark said? Actually, you know what? I think you're right. I think Mark said, if you can get Jimmy Houston, I'll come back. Okay, I got Jimmy Houston. He's coming back, and he's bringing a nephew. He's bringing family. Living Water Specialties. Thank you, Bob. Love the info on the way to fight. Yep. There you go. Okay, Living Water Specialties. Come hang out with us. We're gonna have a whole lot of fun this fall. Danny Mac, you can always use a little dye, a hint of blue. And you know what? The thing I love about Danny Mac is this guy is a freaking intellectual rocket scientist, nuclear physicist. His brain works at levels that very few of us can understand, including me. And Danny Mac, he got the last spot. Danny, you signed up at the right time. He got the last cabin spot there at West Haven Ranch. Virgil Meyer is my 86-degree top water at 1 foot cools below the 82-degree level at the 2 foot level. What will happen to the resulting water temperatures in the top 3 feet? How will it influence the fish? Clarity went from 36 to 14 for the last 3 weeks. Is that temperature related? Yes, that is absolutely temperature related. It is my 86-degree temperature top water at 1 foot cools below the 82-degree foot at 2 feet, 82-degree level at 2 feet. What will happen to the resulting temperature in the top 3 feet? It's going to start falling. So as the days get shorter and the temperature begins to slowly decline, Virgil Meyer, 86 degrees is going to be your top temperature. Your temperature is going to begin to drop below 82. You're going to top out at 82 in the top layer of the water. It won't be for another 10 days, but measure it and come back later and tell me if I'm wrong. But now you've reached the peak. Now you're going to mitigate and begin to go down. And then listen to this. In south central Iowa, you're about to experience the fastest growth of your fish of all year long. Your food chain should be at the peak. Your lake is in, I think it's 4th year, and you will see the best growth you've ever seen from about the first week of September until pretty close to Thanksgiving. And your relative weights ought to skyrocket at that point. Pregnant pause. Doug Cusick, sorry I'm late. I didn't know you were late. Okay, boys. I'm running out of gas. I need some fuel. Feed me some questions. Kind of going to dial back into some of this aquatic plant management stuff. Here's where I want to go. When we get into August, that's where we start to see the peak growth of aquatic plants. Now, aquatic plants, and I'm going to pick on you, Bay, here in a minute. Not really pick on you. Yeah, I'm going to pick on you. So, aquatic plants need three things. They need sunlight, they need food, and they need the right temperature. When those three things happen, aquatic plants are going to grow, and they're going to grow like crazy if they've got all those ingredients. Now, there's only three different ways to deal with aquatic plants if you start to think that they're growing in excess. You got physical methods, which is what Will Farmer's done with his weed cutter, weed puller, weed whatever it is boat. You can hire the Hico football team to come out there and rake that coontail out. And they'll do that once, even if you feed them hot dogs for free. Then there's biological methods, which, like in Bay's circumstance, at some point, we might talk about grass carp, although I'm not interested in that right now to talk about that, but that's one of the options for some people. Bay, in your lake, I was really interested to go take a look at the American lotus. Bay's got an American lotus patch that's probably 5 acres in a 104-acre lake, and Bay said they were beginning to diminish. Well, what was going on out there is when you get these hot, dry, windy days, they scald those lily pads, those American lotus pads. And so Bay has seen a minimal demise of his American lotus pads simply because the lake's been windswept. But one of the things that I've been a little sketchy about, a little curious about, is with Bay's Lake, 104 acres, is I did not want to disrupt the natural balance. We've harvested a bunch of carp. I kind of wanted to throw the brakes on the carp a little bit because I wanted to see what kind of influence they've got on keeping aquatic plants at bay. Forgive the pun, Bay. Aquatic plants at bay, keeping the aquatic plants at bay, bay, because you got a lot of shallow water, And so right now, the amount of coontail in Bay's Lake that's at bay is actually nursery ground, and doing a pretty good job of holding little bluegills and other bait fish, which we drugged the shocker boat over there earlier this week, which I never do that in August. I don't shock lakes in August because I think the lakes need to go do what lakes do, and fish are distributed mostly in deeper water. But we did see some baby bluegills. We did see some activity in the coontail. So here I am rambling. Where I'm going is this time of year, dealing with aquatic plants, you're a little bit late to try to treat them with herbicides, to try to, now if you want to remove them physically, not a bad idea. Hey, there's Chris Blood. I got to have dinner with Chris Blood. Chris is a longtime friend, Texas Hunter Products. Dude, I'm so glad you're here. I need to do a commercial. Texas Hunter Products. If you guys did not get to watch the show last week, I did it at Texas Hunter Products. We did a tour with Cody Borgfield there and got to go take a look at their showroom, see everything they've got to sell. It was pretty dadgum cool. And go back and take a look at that. That video, of course, it was shared by Texas Hunter, and Sarah Parvin shared it to her thousands of audience. That one got close to 11,000 views. I never get 11,000 views. I'm too ugly for that. But with those shares, we got it. So go take a look at that. Chris Blood. Chris is working on some pet feeders. If you need a pet feeder, go to Texas Hunter Products. Easy Docks of Texas, David Schneiderman. Haven't seen him in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but he's usually watching this show. Take a look at Easy Docks of Texas, Purina Mills, Aquamax lineup of feeds, birddogit.com. My son, Jonathan Lusk, he's working on some pretty cool things. He's in his 4th year. He's figuring out the niche. He's got a hunting niche and he's got a land management niche. He's kind of working his way through that. The thing I love about Jonathan Lusk is he's a go-getter and he loves working with people, and he will help you get where you need to go and do it with some integrity. Who am I missing? Texas Hunter. Institute of Higher Pondology. I've already hit that pretty hard. Okay, so I'm going to hit it a little harder. If you have not signed up for the Institute of Higher Pondology, send an email to me, info@pondboss.com. It's $1,500 plus a hotel bill. We're going to go do some fun stuff. What's my prediction of the biggest bass shocked at West Haven Ranch in October? 5.81 was the biggest last October. So here comes the data guy. 7 pounds. Brian Nutt, thank you, PB. One more question, please. Visibility is really bad, maybe 6 inches. I did a test. pH is above 9. Ouch. Woo. pH above 9. That's harsh. What time of day did you do that pH? That pH of 9 is going to be late in the day. Huh. Brian Nutt, y'all bear with me a minute. I'm going to see where he is. Uh-oh. No, I don't want to end the live video. Brian Nutt. Okay, you're in Louisville, Kentucky. pH is above 9. That's way, way, way high. That's scary high. Scary. Pea soup appears to have killed off my aquatic plant life. Should I turn off the feeder? Yeah, I'd turn off the feeder. I think I would turn off the feeder. I'd cross my fingers. I would do nothing. Because if you were to treat that pea soup algae bloom, when it dies, it's going to consume a lot of oxygen. That could create an issue. I don't think I would do a thing other than turn off the feeder, leave the feeder off until the water temperature gets down into 75. I'm going to predict this. I think your pea soup plankton bloom is going to die, and you start seeing a situation where it looks like you've got a floating bright green paint on top of the water. When that happens, that bloom is dying and you're on your way to a better pond health. Bill Schrum. If a 6-pound catfish has a good supply of fish food, is it a good assumption that the bait fish consumption by the catfish will be greatly reduced? No. It's not a good assumption. So here's the way I'm going to tell you that. A 6-pound catfish feeds along the same lines as a 4-pound bass. But the big difference being that yes, it will consume fish food. But that doesn't mean that it's going to go against its natural instincts as being a predator. Channel catfish. People think channel catfish are bottom feeders, scavengers. They're not. They're top-line predators, and they absolutely will compete with catfish with similar gape size, mouth size. So, it's not a good assumption that it will eat fewer bait fish. I think it's a fair assumption that it won't eat as many bait fish as a bass simply because it eats catfish food. Howard Dittrich checking in. Our cardio dude. We love us some Howard Dittrich. Mark, I wish you could go this time too, but you know what? Some of you guys have to hold down the fort and work to support our families. Support your families. Hello, Brian Nutt. Chris Blood, speaking of lily pads burning up, these artificial pads. Okay, dude, look at there. Okay, so take a look at this. Chris Blood has just provided you with a link to take a look at these lily pads that will not burn up. And matter of fact, I was looking at those, and we showed those on the show last week. So you guys, seriously, go take a look at that. Click on that link, and you'll see it. Do it after the show. All right, guys. Holy cow, we're already at 8:20. I've struggled through almost 40 minutes of abuse from Bay and some encouragement from the rest of you. Come on, Bay. You got to have something better than those last few things. Throw something out there. I may have to grab one of those last slots and bring my drone. That'll be some good footage. I really like work. Chico's great. Yeah, he's actually astonishing. He's one of the most amazing videographers, humans I've ever met. And you know what? I got to tell you this, and I'm going to wrap up with this. Howard loves some smart weed, and so does his bass. That's a pretty intellectual comment right there. Bay says it's late. It really, really is. It's already 8:20. I love me some Bay. So, 2 years ago, my oldest son, Ty, said, hey, Dad, you got some pretty cool stories. Why don't you write them down? I've told you guys this. So I wrote them down, and then Jonathan, the birddogit.com, Jonathan says, hey, Dad, why don't you video yourself telling these stories so we'll have this after you're gone? I guess, when you're 70 years old, your kids start looking at you like you're probably going to die at some point. Jonathan says, hey, why don't you video yourself? So I called Chico, and about this time last year, we videoed all those stories. So I've got those all on video. And Chico, wise ass as he is, he says, dude, some of these stories are good life lessons. I think the marketplace would like that. And I said, oh, man, you're killing me, Smalls. And I love baseball. And so 13 of my stories are about baseball. So I have written 60 stories. And I'm going to put 25 of those in a book. It's at the proofreaders. Have no pictures. So I've got a cartoonist drawing cartoons as we speak. And I got a book coming out that's going to be out about Thanksgiving, probably for $30. It's going to be a memoir. Not a lot of it's going to give you great advice about growing fish, but quite a bit of it's going to have some life lessons, some humor, some entertainment, and some things that have happened to me that have not happened to you. So that book's going to be out by about $30, and it's going to be on the market before long, so I thought I'd tell you that. Okay, so Chris Blood says, yeah, it's already getting dark, Danny Mac said. Days are getting short. Nights are getting shorter. Okay, what's that song? Dottie West and there's a full moon over Tulsa. I know. Bay's telling me to shut up. Thanks, Bob, for the wealth of info on all things lakes and ponds and lakes. I love doing it. You know that. Does it make sense to wait to do nutrient abatement like Metaflock until after you've gained better control of no. What matters, okay, Mark Dyer, what Mark is saying is the question is actually saying, hey, I got a whole lot of phosphorus in the water and I want to do something about it. Should we wait until we get a better control of rough fish populations? No. You should do it in the dead of winter when the water doesn't have a plankton bloom. That's the time to do that, because it can't, okay, like not soil flock, but oh hell, y'all help me out. The amendments to sequester phosphorus can't do it when it's bound in plants. So when the plants die, whether it's planktonic algae, blue-green algae, bushy pondweed, whatever, that releases the phosphorus, and then Phoslock, there it is, Phoslock, I beat you guys to the punch. Phoslock can do the job that it's destined to do. So guys, I know it's only 8:24, but I'm kind of there, and I love hanging out with you guys and taking the abuse. There's no abuse here, Lusk. What are you talking about? Love listening to Bay. What's funny to me is Bay actually watches this show and he hangs out for the entire hour, and some of you guys do too. So you guys keep me sharp, although I'm not that sharp. I'm about as sharp as a butter knife, but you do your part to keep the edge on it so at least you can cut butter. And I do deeply appreciate it. I'm not sure where I'll be next Tuesday, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be hanging out with you. So until then, yeah, Bay's got to have the last word, which he does, and he deserves it. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up right here, call it a day, and go hang out with my wife and watch something silly on TV. So, oh, hey, you know what? Check out Serious Angler Podcast. I got to do a really fun podcast last week. Serious Angler, that's the name of it, where I got to tell stories about Ray Scott with Ken Duke. Ken Duke is a freaking legend. So if you guys have not seen that, go find it if you want to be entertained. It's really, really entertaining. Ken Duke's got some great stories about Ray Scott, the founder of BASS, and I've got some pretty cool stories, as Ray Scott was one of my very dear friends. We lost Ray 3 years ago, but we're going to help keep his memory alive. He has meant more to the environment, bass fishing. There wouldn't be a Bass Pro Shops if it wasn't for Ray Scott. Wouldn't be a Triton Boats, Ranger Boats, if it wasn't for Ray Scott. So if you guys get a minute, go to Serious Angler Podcast and take a look at the stories. And actually, you know what? I posted it on my Facebook page, or the Pond Boss Facebook page. Scroll down, find it. It's an hour 25, and it's really, really fun. So if you're going down the road, you can have a little bit of fun watching that. So until next Tuesday, wherever I'm hanging out, I'm pretty sure I'll be hanging out with you. So until then, I'm going to keep leading a pretty cool life, and I hope you do too. So adios for now.